In a dark creepy room, a camera is recording. Jake cries and bleeds with a collar around his neck while the host's voice congratulates him for winning. He was promised to go home after the game was over, but the host says that it's time for the final round. 3 boxes are then revealed and Jake must choose one. Jake pulls at a string to open a box and a shotgun appears. The host thanks Jake for playing and pulls a string to drag a toy that eventually fires the shotgun, killing Jake. Meanwhile, 4 friends arrive at a summer house. It used to belong to James' uncle, who self-deleted after his wife tanked his investments. To celebrate Anita's birthday, the group spends the whole day having fun. In the evening, James starts a game of truth or dare, but Anita doesn't trust her friend's prompts and passes. Melissa asks for a dare and James tells her to kiss Anita. However, Melissa doesn't want him to objectify her preferences and says no. James insists this is his house and he should get what he wants, and Anita admits she doesn't mind. The girls share a short kiss and then James tries to kiss Melissa too, but she immediately pushes him away. A furious James complains about their lack of cooperation. Suddenly they hear a strange noise outside. Matthew thinks it was nothing and they shouldn't worry, but more noises soon follow. Everyone is frozen staring at the back door and James uses the chance to jump scare them. Anita wonders if they should call the cops while James grabs a fire poker and goes to check it out. The others prank him by turning off the lights so he has to use his phone. Suddenly he's startled by a scream, but it's just Melissa, who has sneaked out. At that moment James finds something in the plants and brings it back inside. Everyone is shocked to see a camera with a tape that James wants to watch. Matthew thinks this is creepy and Anita believes it was a bad idea to bring it in. When James reminds her who owns the house, Anita points out that nobody here actually likes him and they just hang out with him because of his money, so she proceeds to destroy the tape. A furious James yells at them and says he wants them gone, saying horrible things about Anita's sick mom. For now the friends can only go to their rooms. Meanwhile, a mysterious person silently enters the house. James is having a shower and sees the bathroom door suddenly open. He grabs his razor and gets ready to defend himself as he's startled by a presence, but it's Melissa again. She says she may be interested in him and he shows her what's under the towel, yet she only laughs because it was another prank. Matthew starts picking up the trash in the living room, not seeing the shadow in the neighboring room. He notices that the light on the camera is red and when he finally turns around, the shadow is gone. After taking out the trash, Matthew goes upstairs and is shocked to find Anita unconscious. When he checks on Melissa, she's the same. He calls James but the mysterious person surprises him from behind with an injection. Matthew runs downstairs to look for James but he can't see him. He then runs outside and passes out. Sometime later the 4 friends wake up chained to a wall with a camera recording. They see their attacker whistling and moving some stuff around before leaving the room. James starts pulling at the chain to no avail and their kidnapper is amused by watching them on his security cameras in his dressing room. Afterward the man returns to the room and the group finally sees Barry, the masked host, who presses a button to bring the chains in. Then he does a countdown to start the show and the lights reveal some mannequins that are supposed to be the public. As music and recorded applause play from a speaker, he introduces the 4 players to the public, and Anita is shocked to hear he knows details about their lives. Barry wants the friends to play rock paper scissors but the group is confused, causing him to call for a commercial break and run back to his dressing room. When Barry gets some shears from a drawer, he accidentally hurts his hand. James thinks this is a prank for a reality show and Anita points out that shows don't give sedatives to their players, but James insists someone set this up. Anita reminds him he's the only one who can afford to do this. After bandaging his hand, Barry goes back with the shears. He asks them to come forward and makes them play rock paper scissors. The final results are all over the place, so Barry decides to let the ladies play first. He tells Anita that if she defeats him, she can choose a prize. Anita chooses paper and Barry chooses shoot by forming a finger. He admits his move is invalid and says she can choose her prize, scissors or shoot. She goes for shoot. Since Melissa did paper during the first round, he makes her open her mouth and uses a card to slash the corners of her mouth. Matthew used rock, so Barry hits him with a rock on the head. Next he cuts off one of James' fingers with the shears. Lastly he pulls out a gun and fires it at Anita, but only a flame appears. Instead he hits Anita on the wall by pulling back the chain, which knocks her out. A few hours later Anita wakes up. An argument ensues as James starts throwing accusations again. Suddenly Barry comes back and reveals the wheel of pain on the wall. Everyone begs for mercy so Barry says he'll give them a chance with a bonus round. If they confess to the worst thing they ever did, they get to leave or die. He asks James first and when he refuses to answer, Barry hits him in the groin with a cane. James explains he was in a car crash and his father took the blame. The person he crashed into died in the accident because James never called an ambulance. Barry keeps pressing the cane until James says that the victim's name was Ashley. Next Barry puts the cane on Anita's neck to make her talk. She admits that to pay for her mother's surgery she made an adult website and now regrets it. Then Matthew explains he scams people online and has seen everything his friends have done on the internet. He tricked an old couple into giving him their identity but didn't even get the money because he accidentally sent it into a blockchain. Melissa admits that the dog shelters she works for don't have enough money, so she sold some pit bulls to a dog fighting ring, pointing out they would have been put down anyway. Afterward, Barry makes Melissa spin the wheel. The result causes Barry to give him a viewfinder, which she must use to go through some pictures. If she identifies the 3 famous cities in the photographs, she wins. She correctly identifies Paris, and when she passes to the next picture, a needle starts moving closer. The same happens when she identifies New York, but she fails the third one. Barry says he must punish her, however everyone convinces him to give her another chance. Melissa uses the viewfinder again, and as soon as she presses the button, the needle stabs her eye. Everyone panics and refuses to spin the wheel, so Barry does it for James and gets his favorite. He grabs a drill and explains he should chase James around the room, but he doesn't like the guy because he talks too much. So he flips a coin and James ends up winning. Then Barry puts the drill in Anita's hand and tells her to drill Matthew's ear. If she doesn't, he'll drill Melissa and James. A countdown begins, so Anita has no choice but to drill Matthew's ear, leaving him in unbearable pain. She drops the drill when she's done and it breaks. Barry yells at her in anger and says she broke the rules before taking the tape from the camera and returning to his dressing room. He puts some tape on the videotape and writes Matthew's name before adding it to a pile of the same thing. Moments later, Barry returns to the room and announces that this round is a bit different. A screen calls the game wildcard as he explains the rules. One question, everyone answers, and the highest score wins. Barry says he's asked 100 people to name the body part that aches the most and wants them to guess the answers. Matthew says head, Melissa says knees, and Anita answers stomach. James keeps trying to reach Barry to beat him up, but the chain just makes him fall. Barry freaks out and his own answer is neck, because they are all a pain in his. Next, Barry pulls out some pieces of paper with the answers. Number 1 is head, 2 is muscles, 3 is neck, and 4 is feet. Matthew points out that these answers don't add to 100, and Barry finds a last piece of paper with stomach, which is higher than muscles. This means Melissa has lost the game. After pulling the chains back, Barry activates his hydraulic press. The machine starts lowering its ram above Melissa and pokes her head, but Barry stops it. He announces a bonus round and asks the others if they want to change places with Melissa, but they refuse. After Melissa begs for her life, Barry makes the ram go again and it cracks Melissa's head open. Afterward, Barry takes the tape away and returns to free Melissa's body while the lights flicker. He laughs as he drags the body away, leaving a trail of blood. In his dressing room, Barry takes off his mask and does to his face the same thing he did to Melissa's mouth. Other scars indicate this isn't the first time. Meanwhile, James keeps pulling his chain and hears a noise that he can't identify. At that moment, Barry comes back with a TV and plays a video of Rebecca strapped to a chair while also being tortured. Then he sits in front of Anita and takes off his mask. She says she's sorry before he puts it back on. The video then shows Barry killing Rebecca with a chainsaw. After Barry leaves the room, James says he looked familiar. Anita thinks Matthew knows she lied about the adult website, and Matthew confirms it before telling James that Anita used to work for the Barry Miller Show. James blames her for everything and demands an explanation, so Anita talks. Barry Miller used to be a very successful game show host and Anita was part of his crew. One day, she and her co-workers were watching the news and learned that their talk show host had been acquitted of all abuse charges because the victims withdrew their testimonies. Rebecca was disgusted and Anita wondered if the man could be innocent. Jake said that one of the victims was driving a new car, so probably all the victims got paid off. Rebecca pointed out that companies got rid of old creeps to save the channel from looking bad and that she heard that Barry was a predator. Whoever caught him could get lots of money, which would be enough to pay for the surgery for Anita's mother. She claimed that Barry grabbed her once and because she didn't play along, she wasn't promoted. Jake thought she was lying. Their conversation was interrupted when Barry came to their table with cake for Anita and made everyone sing the happy birthday song for her. When Barry touched Anita's shoulders, Rebecca freaked out and asked him to stop touching women, creating a very awkward moment. Sometime later, Rebecca and Jake convinced Anita to file a complaint with Human Resources. They immediately offered to pay her well in exchange for her signing a non-disclosure agreement and leaving the company. In the present, Barry comes back and James says he shouldn't punish him, only Anita. In fact, he offers to help Barry with the family money and his dad's contacts. Barry pretends to be excited at the idea of getting his family and show back and says he'll send James' head to his father. Next, Barry brings out the head of the company lawyer to force Anita to eat his tongue. Meanwhile, James keeps pulling his chain and finally gets it off the wall. Suddenly, James knocks Barry down and gets ready to attack with a chain, but Barry presses a button to activate the hidden taser in the chain that electrocutes all 3 players until they're unconscious. Moments later, the boys wake up strapped to tables and notice nasty scars on their stomachs. Barry announces that the next game will be Incision Decision and throws a blade at Anita on the ground before rushing to his dressing room. Using the speakers, Barry tells them that there are 2 keys inside Matthew's and James' stomachs. To leave that room, they need to open the door, so 1 key is enough. Anita says she won't do it, but Barry threatens to abandon them there to die of starvation. James offers to pay Anita well if he doesn't pick him. At first, it looks like Anita is going for Matthew, but she turns around and chooses James instead. She cuts his stomach open and inserts her hand while his body keeps shaking. Once she finally finds the key and James dies, Anita rushes to the door but can't open it. Barry laughs and says that the door is magnetically sealed. He also announces that the last man standing wins and frees Matthew from the table. As he grabs the blade, Matthew points out that they can't both leave because there can only be one winner. He says he loves her and kisses her cheek before making her promise she'll win. Then he uses the blade to self-delete. Barry congratulates Anita for winning before releasing sleeping gas in the room. When Anita wakes up, the bodies are gone and the door is open. She enters the dressing room and finds all the tapes about the victims. She also steals the card. In the bathroom, she washes all the blood off her body. In a small bedroom, there is a picture of Barry with his wife and creepy drawings on the walls. Then she walks down the corridor and finds Barry in another room offering to play one last game. A terrified Anita comes in and sits in front of 3 boxes, getting startled when he activates a confetti bomb. Anita wonders if this is all Barry is, and he answers that Barry is dead because she killed him. She offers to tell the world that she lied, but Barry doesn't react, making her wonder if he did do something. Barry freaks out and starts ranting about Anita's actions. Then he asks her to pick a box. If she doesn't, he'll kill her mother. Anita finally pulls a string to choose a box and reveals a cake inside. As Barry starts singing the happy birthday song, Anita pulls out the card and cuts Barry's face before running away. She quickly makes it outside and thinks it's finally over, only for Barry to activate the taser and bring her down. Barry explains that each of his facial scars represents a killing, so Anita has already made one for herself. Using the chain, he drags Anita back inside. He pushes her head on the cake and keeps her there for several seconds, but to her surprise there are no hidden weapons. Barry tells her she's allowed to go and that the cake tastes terrible. Suddenly Anita's face starts burning and her eyes turn red. She says that she can't see and yells in pain as she tries to run away again. However, she can barely move and collapses in the corridor, her body squirming until she's finally dead. Barry sits next to her and hums the theme of his show for the camera. A tape shows Barry torturing the talk show host until he admits he did abuse those women, but the company paid them off. Then Barry kills him by hitting his head with a hammer. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.